What's up, everybody? Wes Hockwoods here on Packers Preview, joined alongside my colleague at Packers.com, Mike Spofford, here to preview the Week 7 matchup between the Green Bay Packers and Houston Texans. Lambeau Field, the winter warning game is here. The Packers will be wearing their alternative white uniforms and white helmet for the very first time, as you can see behind us here. And Mike, the Green Bay Packers also announced their injury report a few hours ago here. We do know two questionable players for the Packers. Dontavian Wicks with the shoulder injury, Colby Wooden with the knee. Devontae Wyatt has been ruled out. Yes, that's what it was. Devontae Wyatt ruled out, third straight game for him. First time here, though, looking at the Houston Texans injury report, quite expansive on their side of things. 4 starters on the defensive side of the ball are out for this one, including Nico Collins has already been placed on injured reserve with his hamstring. Be interested to see how this works out. But I guess the biggest thing, and on the Packers side of the affair, is the fact that Dontavian Wicks, much like Christian, Watson last month, the fact that he's available, the fact that he appeared to once again averted a disaster there as far as the injuries are concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wicks ended up leaving that game last Sunday with the shoulder injury, did not return, but he was back on the practice field on Wednesday, and he's been limited in practice. But the fact that he's been able to participate in practice to a certain extent all week long is certainly a good sign. Whether or not he ends up playing on Sunday, it certainly looks like he's on the comeback trail.
Jimmy Ward is out again for this one for the Houston Texans. Obviously, the Packers are well familiar with him and his time with the San Francisco 49ers. Azeez Al-Shahir and also Henry Tuo, I believe I got that correct. Their 2 linebackers are out for this one. And Kamari Lassiter also will not play in this game due to the shoulder injury. This is going to be very interesting to see on that side of things how it works out for Houston. On paper, a very good, very formidable defense that DeMeco Ryans has put together, but certainly you need the horses. They will get, I believe, Denico Autry back for this one. That will help in the defensive front, but certainly injuries, as we've seen time and time again here with the Packers, that can shift things a little bit.
Yeah, 4 starters for them out on defense, 2 at the linebacker level, 2 in the secondary. Where the Texans are healthy is up front on that defensive line, and that is one heck of a unit. They are without Mario Edwards right now because he's been suspended, but other than that, and you mentioned Autry coming back, that defensive front for Houston is still looking like a pretty tough unit.
Mike and I will be here for the next 10 to 15 or so minutes answering all of your questions on X, Facebook, and YouTube. You can submit those on the social media channels. Our social media department will send those over to me. I will mention, though, again, noon Central start time for this one. Game will be on CBS, Packers and Texans. Michael, before we shift into that, it bears worth repeating. The Green Bay Packers now 4-2 so far on the season. The fact that they were able to get themselves back to this spot, 2 games above 500, in what looks to be a very competitive NFC North. They got to clear out the AFC South here before they see another division opponent within the North, but certainly some high stakes on Sunday.
Yeah, no question about it. And yeah, the Packers are 4-2. Certainly, you don't like the fact that one of those losses is to the Minnesota Vikings in your own division, et cetera, et cetera. But in 2023, Wes, the Green Bay Packers were never 2 games above 500. So, I think people need to understand this is still a young team that is growing and building, and the fact that they are at this point right now when Jordan Love was out for 2 games also speaks volumes as to where this team is.
It's actually the first time since week 4 of the 2022 season the Packers have been 2 games above 500. So kind of having to play from behind here the last few years, nice to be back out in front of it. All right, let's get to the questions. First, starting with Camden on YouTube. Camden from Charlotte, North Carolina. Thanks for joining us, Camden. Here's my question. Which Packers player is your best traveling buddy? Well, my best traveling buddy is Mike Spofford, if we're just going to be honest about this. Him and I get, stationed next to each other on every single trip. That's a tough one, though. I mean, I would bet, based on the photos that Lauren Anderson takes and Olivia Grover working, the Austin Straubel crew over there.
Yeah, out on the tarmac.
I just want to say, Sean Ryan, I think, always looks to be one of the most comfortable but yet stylistically proficient players on this roster. I would think that he would be someone that would be decent enough to travel with. And also the rookies. I think that's also the key for any of these road trips. The rookies are usually the ones that have to bring the food along with them.
Yeah,
usually, if you ever see some of those photos, they're always carrying things with them. But otherwise, I don't know how to answer that one. As much as I do
Yeah.
enjoy traveling with you, you would not constitute being a player.
No, I would not. It's interesting though. We don't see, and I'm not saying this as like a knock on anybody or anything, but it's a lot more rare that we see the Charles Woodson dressed to the nines type of guys, traveling on team planes and stuff. I mean, sort of, back in maybe the previous generation, there were more players that did that kind of thing.
You know what
when they hit the road.
Preston Smith, very fashion forward, and Preston has some great looks now.
Yes.
But man, when he signed in 2019 and they were still doing some of the suits, Preston Smith had some immaculate suits. I still in the back of my head, that the all green suit that he had, the Packer green, that Hunter green. Preston Smith, he has some good attire.
My favorite, you want to know the story, my favorite travel attire in terms of watching the players. I forget exactly which year it was. It was before you had joined us at Packers.com. I want to say it was around
BWH.
It was around 2009, 2010, like somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly which year, but James Jones, Packers wide receiver, he made it his routine that at every road game, he would walk on the plane wearing the college jersey of one of the other wide receivers. So one week he showed up with Donald Driver's Alcorn State jersey, and he showed up with Jordy Nelson's Kansas State jersey. It was fantastic. Like every
How do you
week.
do a whole season though?
Well,
Or
I
just
mean,
for a stretch.
He also did receivers coach Jimmy Robinson.
Oh my gosh.
He had a custom jersey made of Jimmy Robinson's college jersey from when he played. It was great. So with the whatever it was about, it was just 8 road trips during the regular season. He found, somebody.
That's pretty sweet.
It was a lot of fun. It was always fun to just see what jersey he was going to show up in that week.
I want to go back and find a James Jones San Jose State jersey and wear that on a road trip at one point.
And that's how he started it. He started it with his own, and then he went into his teammates. Yeah.
All right, Horizons Inc. on YouTube. Any word that Brandon McManus said he didn't need to kick inside Lambeau before heading into the game because he knows the place well? Listen, guys have their process, and McManus talked about it this week. He's 33 years old. He's been in the league for a decade. He's been through most of these stadiums, including Lambeau Field. Guys have a process. Rich Bisaccia talked about this. It's now kind of Daniel Whelan, Matt Orzik understanding what McManus wants from them in the operation, and the rest of it for him is just kind of figuring out and getting comfortable once again.
Yeah, and it comes down to the pregame warm-up on Sunday.
Yeah.
There'll be plenty of time, and it's about on Sunday. What does the wind feel like? What are the conditions like? Him getting a feel for what his range is going to be that day and whatnot. I mean, he's a veteran kicker. He's not somebody who's going to get thrown off by the little vagaries of a stadium here or there.
All right, this question from Joe, I'll just ask this one because it also ties in with McManus. What is more likely, McManus has to kick a game-winning field goal, or C.J. Stroud has to lead a 2-minute drive for the win? That question from Joe on YouTube.
Well, I agree with the premise, which is that this game very well could come down to the very end and the last possession for somebody, right? I don't know. I think maybe it's going to be up to Green Bay's defense to stop C.J. Stroud on a clutch drive in the fourth quarter, as the Packers defense did against Matthew Stafford a couple weeks ago in Los Angeles. I very well think Green Bay's defense could be put in that position again.
Benny on X. I'm bringing my girlfriend to her first NFL game at Lambeau. We are getting in Saturday afternoon. Benny, congratulations. I hope you guys have a lot of fun. What are some places you'd recommend checking out for her and I the night before and for pregame Sunday morning? Here's the thing that's funny about these questions, because we get these a lot in Insider Inbox.
Yeah.
I never answer any of them.
Yeah, I know. I don't either.
Not because I don't want to, but because it's almost like we should just have a separate section on our site, which is like, here's what Wes thinks, here's what Spav thinks. Have a great time in Green Bay. What I will say, though, Saturday nights around Lambeau Field are the best vibe in Green Bay ever. 365 days of the year, the 10 home weekends, even the preseason, and especially if you get in a playoff game. What it's like around here, the energy, the end zone, jumbotrons are lit up with the matchup. There's so much just excitement around there. Kids laughing, it's tons of tours, everything that's happening over at Titletown. If you're in Green Bay and you don't live here, there is no better place to be. This is not an ad for the Titletown, but there's no better place to be than around the stadium, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Sunday mornings, best of luck to you. I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. I pull into the parking lot in Lot 9, hope that I don't get cut off by somebody trying to park in there as well, and then it gets all awkward, and then I'm into the stadium. So Sunday morning, I wish you lots of luck, as they would say in Outlaw Josie Wales. But the fact is the night before, I just think you cannot go wrong being around the stadium, being in Titletown, whether it's Hinterland or the Turn or what have you. Some cool stuff. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
No, I mean, if you've got the time during the day on Saturday, I mean, a stadium tour, check out the Hall of Fame. I mean, just you're right about the vibe. I mean, even during the day on Saturday, before it turns to night, I mean, there are people, there is activity, there is buzz around the stadium the day before a home game. There are a lot of people around, and it's pretty cool.
Mike, I'm keeping you on your toes here with these questions today. This is a little bit different, but
you are.
This is a good one from YouTube, from Matt Salas. Will fans embrace the whiteout weekend? I love it. I know there's some stuff about it's going to be probably 70 degrees, the game's at noon, it's October, but the fact is, as I wrote an inbox this week, anything you can do that writes a new chapter into this franchise's illustrious history, but still respects the history of the franchise, like I believe that helmet does, that's exciting to me. I am the type of person where you get through things, you want to achieve something more, you want to do something new, you just don't want to have the same thing over and over again. This game presents that. Again, if you don't know, fans are encouraged to wear white jerseys, as much white as you can, to kind of bring that vibe all together, the winter warning matchup. In contrast, the Houston Texans are wearing all navy blue. I think it's going to be a really cool visual on the field.
Yep, I agree.
And here's the other thing too, Michael. Hey, dude, we're going to get plenty of primetime games. We're going to get plenty of 325 games. The opportunity to have some noon games at Lambeau Field under any circumstances, to me, is always a win.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that a lot of fans, when they come to games at Lambeau Field, they want to wear their jersey, and most of the jerseys are the traditional green ones and stuff, right? So, but just for one game, dig into the closet, find a big white T-shirt, a big white sweatshirt, whatever it is. I mean, when there are stadiums that do it right, and here I'll give a shout out to Sean Clifford, Kalen King, those guys at Penn State, and the way Penn State does the whiteout in Happy Valley. If the fans do it right, it's really cool. Yeah. So hopefully the fans do embrace it on Sunday.
So yes, and by the way, since we're just going to do this, also with the winter warning game comes our Packers Game Day program cover. This is not an ad. Usually I close the show with this, but since we're talking about it, I might as well mention it. Kenny Clark, Elton Jenkins wearing the winter warning uniforms. Pick this up. Packers Houston Texans game program. Very excited for that one as well. Packers preview, Wes Hodkiewicz, Mike Spofford, a few more minutes here. Once again, brought to you by Microsoft Surface. Noon Central start time, a game that will be on CBS. I believe it's the Tony Romo, Jim Nantz crew.
It is.
As well. That's very exciting to throw that in there.
That's what we've heard.
And now I'm killing time until I can bring up my phone and see more questions. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. Usually I always have one queued up in the back of my mind. Today I'm off my game a little bit. Let's go to Kay Rudolph, who might actually be Kyle Rudolph on X. What will it take to beat the Vikings? How many teams from the NFC North will make the playoffs, Michael?
I think that is an interesting question with where things are. I mean, yes, everybody in the NFC North is above 500 by at least 2 games right now, but there's also only been one division game where teams in the division are, have played each other, which was the Packers against the Vikings a couple weeks back. So, and we're at another division game this week, right? Vikings against the Lions. That's a big one that a lot of people will be paying attention to. It's really too early to say just how things are going to position themselves in terms of, okay, who else besides the NFC North champion is going to be able to get a wild card, because there are a lot of division games to be played, which means these teams in the NFC North are going to start handing each other losses, and the whole landscape is going to shift until we get a little bit further into the season. It's really hard to say right now.
Okay, this one is from Gavin. You hear the Myles Garrett trade talk? What's up? I think that's how you pronounce that, right?
Something like that.
I did not see anything about Myles Garrett in trade talk. Did you?
I haven't.
Boy, I would not move him if I was the Cleveland. Not that we're turning this into the Cleveland Browns Q&A preview, but that's not a piece I would move.
That would be something. I haven't seen anything as far as on the traditional sources and
Yes.
websites that we check out as far as Myles Garrett being traded.
I'm just trying to cover the Green Bay Packers to the best of my ability. Margaret on Facebook. Hi, Wes and Mike. Hi, Margaret. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Let's see here. By Mitch B on YouTube. My wife is coming with me for her first Packers game ever on Sunday, too. That's very exciting. I hope you guys have a great time with that.
Awesome.
Another question from Camden on YouTube. Another question for you guys. Which Packers player do you dress up as for Halloween? I will dress up like Jair Alexander because he is my favorite player and my buddy from high school, Rocky River. That's awesome if that's actually the case. If you went to high school with Jair Alexander, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Did you go to high school with anybody famous?
Did I go to high school with anybody famous?
Did anyone, or if you didn't, anybody famous from your high school?
Not really, no.
Okay. I got Alec Ingold, although he's younger than me.
One of, I will say, the name is not famous, but one of my high school friends and fellow high school graduates from Platteville, he was in my class, went to medical school at Bethesda and all that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
did his military stuff, and then he was actually the White House doctor for multiple
Wow,
administrations.
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and now he's back in my hometown of Platteville with his own family practice.
Man, that's bringing it full circle, too.
Yeah, good dude.
As far as who we dress up as Halloween, what a way to bring that one back. Because everyone makes fun of me because of Kenny Clark, I'm going to say I'll dress up as Kenny Clark. I'll have a 97 jersey. Probably need to get some height and just a little bit more muscle mass, but
One time when I was a kid, I had a Packers number 12 jersey, and I went out on Halloween as Lynn Dickey.
please tell me there's photos of this.
I don't think so.
We need photos of this.
I don't
Adam
think
behind
so.
the camera there is laughing too. If there are photos, Mom and Pa Spofford, if there are photos of young Michael wearing a Lynn Dickey outfit, I need this. I absolutely need this for my records, for my archives, everything. All right, a couple more minutes here, and then we got to get out of here. This thing's off the rails already. But Tom Grassi, my question is for Wes. Hi, Tom. How are you able to maintain your composure around the aura of Mike Spofford? I started that thinking it was going to be a legitimate question too. How do I maintain?
From Tom? Never.
8.5 years, Tom, of me trying to maintain my composure around Mike. That's what it is. It's kind of like you're building up your tolerance to something, just being around there. Okay. Then our boss Duke put in there Lynn Dickey. Mike, I would love to see photos of you dressed as me. Okay. God.
Okay.
This has been the most off the top Packers
We have
preview I think
completely
we've ever done.
gotten off the track.
All right,
today.
Wes from Swamico will try to bring this thing back together. The Green Bay Packers are trying to get to 5-2 on the season. They're
Yes,
trying to get
they
to their
are.
third straight victory. We got 3 more games here before the Week 10 bye. Mike, the Green Bay Packers back at home, winter warning game. What must happen on Sunday for the Green Bay Packers to get that number 5 victory?
One thing at the top of my list is to contain Joe Mixon, because that guy, as a running back, he's a power back. He can control the game. He's a handful. And for all the talk about C.J. Stroud and those other weapons, well deserved. But Joe Mixon, I think, is a big time key to this game. The other one, as we talked about with regard to Houston having those injuries on defense, but those injuries are at the linebacker and secondary levels. That defensive front is pretty much full strength, and this is a big-time challenge for the Packers' offensive line, which I think is playing really, really well right now. And this is a challenge to rise to.
You edited Inbox Ready for Tomorrow?
Yes, I did.
Did you see my bid in there? Stroud has been sacked 16 times this year.
Yeah,
that's tied for the 6th most in the NFL.
That's a surprising number for a guy with his level of mobility. Not that he's a run around like crazy
but he's
kind of
a
guy.
4-5 guy.
Yeah,
Like, he can run.
Yeah, he can definitely get away from people, and yeah, that is kind of a surprising number.
But that's why for me, my key, and it's something I've talked a lot about now almost ad nauseum, is the defensive front took a big step forward last week. And the fact that, Kenny Clark with the fumble recovery, I thought Rashawn Gary had some really good pressures. Edgerrin Cooper has been a difference maker with him getting more involved in the defense. I'm not saying you got to have 8 sacks like the Will Levis game, but the more pressure you generate on C.J. Stroud, the more uncomfortable you make him. Yes, everything ties back together, and I agree with you. Stopping Joe Mixon is paramount. But there's an opportunity there to be able to get some hits, to get some sacks. You have to be able to take advantage of that.
It's a game, I think, where the depth of Green Bay's defensive front needs to shine through. You're rotating these guys. You have Gary, you have Preston, you have Lucas Van Ness. You have a guy like Carl Brooks who had a sack and a half a couple weeks ago and a forced fumble recovery last week. All these guys working their way in, and that depth has taken a little bit of a hit with Devontae Wyatt being out, and Colby Wooden is questionable. But when you look at those first two levels, defensive line and linebacker, Packers have a lot of guys who have made some major contributions, and you want to see that show up again Sunday.
And the question is if those guys can contribute to a major victory over the Houston Texans. Again, Packers Preview brought to you by Microsoft Surface. We thank you as always for joining us. 7 weeks in already into the 2024 NFL season. Tons of content, as always, and on the Packers mobile app, packers.com. Check that out. We had a lot of stuff to cover this week and a lot of different forms of things. Obviously, the story I wrote about the Packers run game, most rushing yards by a Packers offense in 61 years. They're doing it unconventionally. They're doing it with everybody getting involved. Check that out. Mike's One Last Look column also will be up on the website tomorrow. But for Mike, I'm Wes. Until next time, we'll see you later.